rock stars, and welcome back to whatever week we're on for the Aldebaran Quilt Along. We've been going at this for a minute, and it is time to talk about quilting plans. First of all, if you are here with me live, do say hi in the chat. I am vaguely attempting to adjust all the cameras. Today, we're going to talk about quilting plans. And with that, I specifically want to talk about how you're going to think through how you're going to quilt this Aldebaran quilt. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, I'm going to talk through all this verbally while we're here together live, but there is a blog up on stringandstory.com. So stringandstory.com/blog. And I will make sure that that link gets posted up to my Instagram stories and gets dropped into this YouTube caption or posted, nearby so that y'all will be able to find it. Hey, Corey, good to see you. Now, last week, we pieced together our Y seams, and I really hope that y'all gave this a whack this week and realized that this, in fact, does not have to be a terrifying event, right? It's all about just leaving your seam allowances and knowing how those are going to piece together. It makes a huge difference, right? Good morning, Heather on YouTube. I see y'all, and I see Made by a Brunette, and of course, Corey and Kate and Diane and Leah and Julian. Hey, it's good to see you. Now, anytime we're thinking about how we are going to quilt a project, oh no. Sorry, I got a new tripod and it's sitting on the table and it almost dove off the table. Everything is fine. Anytime we're thinking about a quilt that we are going to quilt, I want us to think about the job of the quilt. Corey coming in with the emojis. I love it. I want us to think about the job of the quilt. Is this going to be a quilt that is going to be turned into blanket forts? Or is this a quilt that you're going to submit to QuiltCon or to another show? Is this a quilt that is going to go on your bed, right? And thinking about all of those things, considering how much use the quilt is going to get, how roughly it's going to be treated, and accordingly, how much time and effort you want to put into the quilting. Now, I always remind folks, it is okay if you are like me and you're just going to custom quilt the thing every time because that's what makes your soul happy. All right. Shameless plug while we're here on the topic. If you're here and you go, oh my gosh, I've only ever straight line quilted my quilts, or oh my gosh, I've only ever sent my quilts out for long arming, but I actually really would like to quilt my own projects. How do I learn how to do that? You learn how to do that inside of Quilting Rockstar University. Quilting Rockstar University is our online membership that includes an incredible library of education, but even more importantly, includes access to me as a facilitator to make sure that your quilts are getting across the finish line. We have live events just like this one where you can ask me questions. We have events on Zoom where I get to ask you what you're working on. And all of that comes together to help you become a whole quilting rock star, feels very confident finishing your own projects, whether you're wanting to do a simple meander or you're wanting to fully custom quilt. So that's enrolling through December 1st. That's Monday. It's $37 a month. It's about $2,500 worth of content value in there, which is incredible. These are all of our digital courses that we used to sell a la carte. And I realized that I, wanted to make them more financially accessible, which we can do with a membership format. And B, I wanted to be live more. I wanted to be with y'all more. I wanted to do more facilitation because I know that that's what really helps all of us get things across the finish line, is knowing that we've got someone who's going to be checking in on our work and asking how it's going and helping us get unstuck when we run into a problem, right? Heather's over on YouTube, and Heather says, I love the university. Did my first one during COVID. Yes, Heather, I'm so glad that you're here. And good morning, Susan. Good morning, Jenny. It's good to see you. Well, Jenny, it's afternoon for you. Good afternoon. I'm so glad that it is not 1 in the morning when we are live this time for you, Jenny. Heather says that Polaris was her first quilt. That makes me so happy. So if you're here and you're curious about that, be sure to head to my profile, head to stringandstory.com. We can get you all signed up. You're going to meet incredible rock stars. Now, today, let's talk about a couple of different options for quilting Aldebaran. Generally speaking, if we know that a quilt is going to be very heavily used, we may not want to spend all the infinite time in the world quilting it because maybe it's going to hurt our hearts a little bit to see it get kind of loved aggressively, right? So if you know that a quilt is going to get used like that, you may want to simply pick an all over quilting design, right? That could be a meander, that could be swirls, that could be paisleys. I will say, I was actually talking about this with a rock star this week. I personally think that quilts that are going to get very aggressively used, I think they hold up better if they are more densely quilted. right? The thread really helps keep everything together. There's less fraying and less wear and tear. It could still be an all over design, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to custom quilt it in the name of having dense quilting, but don't necessarily equate a simple quilting plan with loose quilting, right? You may still want the stitching to be fairly close together in order to help with the durability of the quilt. Okay. Now, your next option, maybe you want to add a little pizzazz, but you're not wanting to go too heavy-handed with the thing, would be to do a semi-custom quilting plan. So this is going to be a quilting plan that uses 2 or 3 motifs. On this one, I use just one. So this is technically an all-over design. Each of these just has a feather inside of it. The cover quilt for Aldebaran, so the really bright pink and turquoise one, that one is a semi-custom quilting plan. I used a ruler to stitch in the ditch and our fun little stripy triangle. And then I did rift quilting in the background of the rest of it. So this just allowed my fun little piecing element to pop a little bit, but it didn't add a lot of extra quilting time to the process. I didn't have to break thread. I wasn't doing a lot of excessive like traveling to get from place to place. And that would work really well. Another way that you could consider kind of semi-custom quilting this is if you've got 4 colors, right? Maybe all of the, maybe every other going this way is swirls and the others are paisleys, and then you alternate it in the other set of diagonals, right? You could even edge up into the kind of basic level of custom quilting and say, okay, all the green ones are a feather, all the turquoise ones are a meander, all the gray ones are swirls, and all the light blue ones are McCavishing, right? So that would be a very simple way to divide things up. That would also be a really great way to practice your skills. So if you are new to free motion quilting, consider breaking things up into blocks and doing a different motif every couple of blocks, because it'll give you a little bit of practice, but you won't get kind of bored and stuck doing the same thing over and over again, right? The last thing that you can consider, and this is going to be if this quilt is for a very special occasion, if you're thinking this quilt is going to be a show quilt, if you just are like me, and I think Corey probably falls into this category too, and you love custom quilting, it just makes your heart happy to get really creative with your quilting, then you could fully custom quilt this. And if you go and you look at the blog that I referenced, and I'm going to link for y'all in various places, I drew out a quilting plan of putting a different snowflake in every single one of these hexagons on mine. Because remember, I've got this lovely kind of winter frost color palette going on. And I used all solids this time. This is the first time I've made an all solids Aldebaran. So my quilting is going to pop on this. So I'm actually going to be using a combination of ruler work and free motion to custom quilt snowflakes into this quilt. And I am geeked about it. One more shameless plug for Quilting Rockstar University. I'm going to be quilting those snowflakes live on camera during our quarterly masterclass in December. So if you're like, wait, that sounds really cool, I really want to see her do that. If you join crew, you're going to get to spend a couple hours of me quilting that live, and I'll answer all your questions and really talk you through the nitty gritty of how that quilting plan works. Okay. Other fun things that you could do with this, I mentioned, you could go block by block, custom quilting this. You could also treat each triangle separately, right? You could go wishbones, switchback, and go around like that. You could do ribbon candy. You could put a feather in each one of these if you wanted to and get really specific with it, okay? How many of y'all here have pieced your Aldebaran, and what are you thinking about for quilting plans? I would love to know. Yeah, what is coming to mind that you're like, I think I'm going to lean this way on how I do quilting plans, or what else can I answer for you about how to make a quilting plan? Actually, I'm going to break that down as y'all are typing any questions that you have. My favorite ways to draw quilting plans, I tend to be a very tactile person. So I love working with paper. Honestly, take a picture of your quilt top, right? Print that puppy out and draw on it with a number 2 pencil. That is the cheapest, easiest, most accessible way to draw your quilting plan, okay? My second favorite way is on my iPad. Same concept though. I take a picture of my quilt top and I import it into a program called Procreate. And then I can doodle with my Apple Pencil and do lots of different layers. It's very easy to erase and try again. The whole point of a quilting plan is so that we can audition our quilting ideas before we start to stitch, so that we don't have to be afraid of ruining our quilts. That is like the number one thing I've been hearing. So every time Quilting Rockstar University opens up for enrollment, right, I'm always asking, why are you afraid to quilt your own quilts? Why are you afraid to quilt your own quilts? And there's a few answers that show up time and time again, but often there's one that's louder than the others. And this time around, the really loud answer has been, I'm really scared of ruining my quilts. And we can, first of all, define ruined, right? Are you afraid that arbitrarily you'll pick something that someone else perceives as the wrong motif? All that really matters is that you like it. There's no right or wrong motif. There's just what you like, right? If you're defining ruined as you pick a motif and then you're afraid you're not going to like it later, this is exactly what a quilting plan is for, right? This is going to allow you to audition this before you actually start stitching and have an idea of what it's going to look like on your project. So then you get to enjoy the creativity of what happens if I draw this motif on my quilt. But then you also get to enjoy the creativity of, I've picked something that I like, and now I am going to actually execute it and make this quilt happen. Okay. Let's see. I see some questions over here and comments over here on YouTube. So Jenny says, my quilting shed is outside, so I won't be able to go out there at night. That makes sense, Jenny. It's getting cold and dark in the UK. I had the great delight. I did not appreciate it enough at the time, but I've come to appreciate it much more since. When I was in 9th grade, we actually spent Thanksgiving week in the UK. But the thing that I was really struck is like, y'all are just far enough north from where we are in Georgia that it actually gets dark a lot earlier. So I get that, Jenny. Heather says, that was huge for me. You suggested that we take a picture of the quilts and then just draw on it. And it made the quilting so much easier once I had it on the long arm and wasn't staring at it. Yes. Because here's the thing, right? Think about if you need to write a hard email, or you need to write a school paper, or you need to write a plan for something, right? And you open up that blank document on your computer, or you have a fresh sheet of paper and you're just like, oh, what do I do next? Right. And it's like immediate writer's block, right? The same thing can happen for us as quilters, that you get that quilt and you get it either loaded on your long arm or you get it basted and spread out on your quilting table, and you look at it and you just immediately are like, I've never seen a quilting motif in my life. I don't even know what quilting stitches look like. How am I ever going to get this done? Right. And then it's game over. Like your brain has shut down. So being able, as Heather said, to make that plan ahead of time and have it all drawn out is a total game changer. I agree completely. Nicole said, I did curves and dot to dot pictures in the university. Ooh, Nicole, I can't wait to go see. I might have to screen grab that and put it up in my Instagram story so y'all can see her gorgeous work, because I'm excited. It's been really fun to see these come together. I used your plexiglass idea. Oh yes, Nicole. So this is a great tip to bring up as well. One of the questions that I then sometimes get is, okay, well, I've drawn my quilting plan on a piece of paper this big, but my quilt is this big. How do I know it's going to work? And this is where I like to take a piece of clear plexiglass, put some nice hot pink duct tape around the edges so we don't accidentally mark on the quilts, right? Lay that puppy over your quilt and take a whiteboard marker and draw your quilting plan on the plexiglass on the quilt so you can see the scale of the thing. Great tips and tricks, Nicole. Awesome. Y'all, thank you so much for being here. As a reminder, we do not have a Q&A for our quilt along next week. We're going to be taking a break. However, I am going to be doing a very special live with Handy Quilter next week. So stay tuned for those details. I'll be making sure they get posted on social, get sent out via email, etc. And that's going to be a really fun opportunity to see some quilting in action. We will be back the following week, so the second week of December. We're going to do our show and yell. And this is going to be an opportunity for you to show off your Aldebaran quilts to each other. You do not have to have it quilted in order to participate in show and yell. Of course, I would love for you to, but if you don't, that is a-okay. Just have your quilt done. You'll get an email. Those of you who are signed up for the quilt along, we're going to send an email out with an opportunity for you to fill out a little form and submit a photo so that we can put together a little slideshow and show off all your gorgeous quilts in 2 weeks. So between now and then, focus on getting those quilt tops pieced. Sign up for Quilting Rockstar University so you can feel confident quilting your own quilts and have an absolutely fabulous Thanksgiving. Thanks for being here, y'all. Bye for now.